let's crack on with today's webinar then. We'll get straight into question number one, which has come in from Mary. Hello there, Mary. Thanks for joining us and sending your question in. So Mary says, I've had my offer accepted, my mortgage has been approved, and the survey completed on property we're buying. Communication has been dreadful with the seller's agent who didn't let us know the offer was accepted. When we call, we get told they will ring back in 5 minutes, but they don't. This branch is part of a well-known chain, so we would expect better service. The agent was relentless in pushing their mortgage service and conveyancers and refused to mark the property as sold on the internet until we either choose one of their until we chose one of theirs or provided details of who we're going to use. I will say that's fairly standard because they want to know that what they're being told is the truth, but we'll carry on with the question, Mary, thank you. What the agent hasn't told us was that the seller hadn't even begun to look for a property to buy. Our concern is that our mortgage offer expires in 3 months, and we don't think the vendor will be anywhere close to completing in time if they haven't even started looking. If we have to apply again for a mortgage, we will not be able to afford this property given the rise in interest rates. We asked if the seller would be prepared to move into rented to break the chain, but unfortunately they can't, as they need to move their mortgage onto the next property, as otherwise they'll be charged a hefty early redemption fee. Is there anything we can do in this situation so we don't lose the property? Okay, great question there, Mary. Thanks for sharing the detail there. I just want to clarify the bit you mentioned about the estate agent there with not marking the property as sold. They will want to know all of the information that they've asked for there in terms of, have you spoken to your mortgage broker? Have you got a solicitor in place? And have you got a decision in principle on your mortgage? That's really important so that they know that they can have confidence that you're a legitimate buyer, because you will be amazed at how many people will go into an agency office and say, yeah, we can proceed, not really knowing what proceed means, and sometimes they haven't even got their own house on the market or they haven't got a buyer and that sort of thing. So I just want to clarify that bit. But moving on, couple of things I want to pick up on, Mary, here that you said. First of all, nobody can force anyone to do anything in these sorts of transactions, and I understand your frustration that you've got this sort of time ticking on your current mortgage offer, and that it expires within that 3 months, and the seller hasn't got anywhere to move to. Now, there's a couple of things that I say that is a bit of a red flag for me here, and I'll just raise that with you, Mary, because you've said that you can't afford the property given the interest rate rises. And my view would be, if you're not stress testing your income against the sort of amount that you're paying out on your mortgage, then you need to tread very carefully, because a lot of people have been caught out in this trap where they've got into a property deal when mortgage rates are low and they haven't fixed their rate for a long period of time. And then as that rate is increased, they found that the property becomes more and more of a burden around their neck. They're unable to meet the payments. And what they end up doing is that then they could then be in a position where they end up losing the home because they can't afford to keep hold of the mortgage payments, as I say there. So the risk is significant that you could lose the property, you could lose your deposit, and the property might be taken off you and sold at a reduced price in the future. So that's something to be aware of. That if you already know that you can't afford it if interest rates rise, and the likelihood is they are going to rise over the course of the next few weeks and months, I would be looking very seriously at my financial position as far as that is concerned. Now, just coming back to the seller, I would ask what's your relationship like with the seller, because it might pay you if you're not getting a lot of cooperation from the agent. I'm not encouraging you to cut the agent out. That's not what I'm encouraging you to do at all, okay? But what I would encourage you to do is to have a conversation with the seller, because the seller may be faced with a difficult decision to make, and that would be, do they carry on procrastinating and not finding a place to move to, or maybe they are looking and there's just nothing available for them. If they lose you as a buyer, and then, let's say the market takes a turn for the worse over the course of the next 3 months, which is possible, are they going to then end up faced with having to take a lesser price on their property, i.e. reduce the sale price of their property to attract another buyer? And would that reduction in the sale price outweigh any kind of redemption penalty that they might pay if they can't port their mortgage across in time? Okay, so there's a couple of options you can look at there. I would certainly get in contact with your mortgage provider at the moment, see if there's any flexibility in terms of extending that deal. Okay, or seeing what other deals may be available. There is a lot of panic in the market at the moment, and I think a lot of it's being hyped up, perhaps a little bit unnecessarily. But you don't know what the market's going to be like in 3 months' time. It might be, let's say if there was a big property crash, for example. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if there was, you'd actually be in a better position, because whilst you might have lost out on this particular deal, you might find that you then pick up a property at a lesser price in a few months' time. Okay, so that's something to think about. Obviously, we can't predict the future, which is what makes life so uncertain. And it's something that you need to bear in mind. You need to tread carefully in the uncertainty at the moment, and see what might come of it all. But the one thing I want to say, Mary, just to underpin this point, is that what I see happening for a lot of people is they go out and they try and get the biggest house that they can afford to buy, and they go and get the biggest amount of borrowing that they can, whether it's a 25-year deal or a 30-year deal or even longer terms. They borrow absolutely as much as they can. Right, and then they go out and buy this property, and as I say, it's fine whilst interest rates are low. But as interest rates start to creep up, that burden becomes almost too much, and it becomes the straw that breaks the camel's back. Now, bearing in mind, and this is something that most people never take into account, if you've taken a mortgage over a 25-year term, right, the likelihood is the economy will go through at least 2 cycles of a recession, maybe even 3. Okay, every 7 to 10 years, depending on who you listen to. Now, if you're in a job or you have your own business, and you're knowing that you're going to face 2 cycles of a recession potentially over the course of 25 years, surely it makes sense to be a little bit more financially savvy and to look at perhaps being a little bit more realistic in terms of what you can afford, but then paying off that loan a lot quicker and a lot sooner, maybe over the course of 7 years rather than over the course of 25. Because the one thing I can tell you about human beings is that we always like to look at the optimistic things in life, okay? And we never like to look at what the potential downsides of things are in the future, okay? So that's something to wrap your head around. Do some numbers on this as well, Mary, okay? So look at what would happen if interest rates creep up to a base rate of 5 or 6%, which is fairly standard. I mean, a lot of property investors I know, we will stress test our deals at a base rate of 6%. Okay, so that's base rate, not the actual interest rate, but the base rate of 6%. So that's something to be aware of. Can you afford it if interest rates went to 8%, 10%, 15%? Because that has happened in the past, right? It's something to be aware of, and it might cause you to really sort of pull back and start to review whether or not this is actually the right deal for you, or whether, like a lot of buyers at the moment, you've got caught up in this frantic marketplace, and you feel that you really need to buy this property because there's nothing else available. Okay, so hope that helps, Mary. I'd be happy to continue that conversation again if you want to at some point. See what we can do to help you further, but hopefully that's given you a little bit of a steer as to what certainly I would do if I was in your position. Okay, so please send me your questions next week or for next week's webinar. Get them through to us on the email address happytohelp@wiggywam.co.uk, or you can go to the WiggyWam website, which is wiggywam.co.uk, which is wiggywam.co.uk, and you can find in the sort of weekly Get Your Property Questions Answered webinar. And we're going to post updates on that on the site, and you can drop your questions into there, or you can tweet us at WiggyWam UK on Twitter, and we'll gladly take those questions in as well. So thanks for joining me, guys and girls. Really enjoyed it again this week. Hopefully, as I say, we'll be live next week from the new digs, and it's going to be pretty exciting seeing how we move an entire house and get the office set up in time for that. So wish me luck, and I wish you all an amazing week, guys and girls. Have a great time, and let me know if I can help you in your property journey. All right, see you very soon. Take care, guys. Bye.